You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey all, welcome to Cards to the Moon, another Tuesday, another podcast episode, and this is number 39. My name is Clark from 5 Card Guys, and with me as always is Hyung from Integrity Sports Cards and John, who's Trade You at Recess on Instagram. Now off the top today, Hyung, you got something exciting brewing with the launch of a new website. Do you want to tell us and everyone out there that's listening right now all about it?
Sure. Yeah, we're pretty excited. We've been very, very busy actually this past week. We launched our new website, ysportscards.shop is the website, and basically it's a buy it now or best offer site, a website where we list a bunch of slabs up for sale. We're not doing it through eBay, but we are ending auctions daily through eBay. So we're closing some of our inventory that's listed on. So it's basically we would release 3 cards a week, or 3 cards a day, each night, and then it would go through a 7-day auction process and close each day throughout the week, right? So yeah. We're encouraging people, I guess, to get the good deals, right? And we're trying to build kind of like a machine that could, solve the problem of liquidity. A lot of people, collect sports cards, but they don't have an avenue to necessarily, I guess, sell their cards. So eventually I believe what I'm trying to build is something that can create that solution to that problem of being able to sell by potentially opening up consignment down the road.
No, I checked out the website. It looks great. It looks clean. And anyone that knows Hyung knows he has a bunch of slabs. So
that's the problem. It was my solution essentially to be able to, how do I get rid of my slabs, right? How do I get rid of the collection I've built? And it's tough to individually sell them, at a rate because you're constantly buying more slabs, right? So right. There's a point in time where, I realized, what? I have a lot of friends too that ask me to, where should I invest in sports cards? Right. I'm sure a lot of you guys and a lot of our listeners get that question a lot. Right. So for me, this is also a good way that I could, list the types of sports cards I would invest in. They're actually on my site, right? Go check them out. It's a great option for those that don't want to do their research, because I focus kind of on, higher quality slabs and lower pop stuff that, are in demand, right? So we're essentially trying to create, a machine that creates, I guess, a little bit of a solution for the liquidity problems that some people may have in terms of selling items. So
sure.
Yeah.
It's always a good thing to have another option besides eBay and these other big marketplaces.
Absolutely. And I think eBay is a great platform. I know eBay gets a lot of, heat for their fees, but rightfully so. Like at the end of the day, they're bringing you an audience that's unparalleled to any platform out there, right? So with any sales in any industry or product, there's going to be a commission, and I see eBay as a commission. They're bringing me, all the the potential buyers, right? So for me, I think a lot of sports card collectors who use eBay can potentially, look outside as well and be able to use like my slabs, eBay, Facebook, maybe a little custom website that kind of ties everything together and makes it kind of work all in one. And that's essentially what I did kind of with my inventory, just, a little bit of thinking, a lot of time thinking actually, how it could be sustainable and obviously with intention, right? If you're always, seeking out that, solution to that problem that, that you need to kind of find, I think you'll always find a way to be in business, right? So, I mean, that's what Integrity Sports Cards is all about, is making that transaction very easy, very pleasant, and quick. Where we want them to come back essentially. So yeah, we're building it now. We're building also our studio. It'll be a physical studio. It is a private studio. It's not a retail front, but we'll have a digital showroom where we're gonna pump out content every day now as well, right? So we're listing slabs on a daily basis, closing out daily. We'll have a lot of content pertaining to what we do, including like stuff like grading, the whole process, reveals. We'll break some high end boxes too, or even calculate ROI on some of these boxes. There's so many things you could do, right? So it's just giving us a space that we're able to kind of execute all that. And I'm excited because obviously 5-card guys and Cards to the Moon, it'll give us also a platform to kind of grow as well. So
yeah, no, definitely exciting, and we're always looking to bring more value to not just our listeners, but anyone in the hobby that's really interested in getting into this space. So awesome stuff. Everyone go check out the store online right now at Y Sports Cards, the letter Y, sportscards.shop, for some excellent deals. And there's a link to his eBay store right on the site as well.
Yeah, if you go to there's a Linktree site or Linktree link on our bio. You just click there, and everything is connected with our daily auctions and all our buy it nows and best offers on our slabs.
Sweet.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's move on ahead then right now to hobby headlines. So this week, we got a question from another podcast listener. Shout out to Mike M of Two Bros Sports Cards on Instagram. He had a good question, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but essentially, he wants to know what we think about investing in a player's non-rookie cards, like the second or third year cards. And the thinking is that investing in rookie cards of stud and hype players can be a pretty risky play, because rookie cards usually cost the most, especially if it's a PSA 10. And the younger the player, the more they have to play up to their hyped expectations to grow or even just retain their rookie card value. On the other side, we see the same player's second or third year cards that are serial low numbered autograph cards going for a lot less than even some of their base rookie cards. So the question really is, what's the better growth opportunity here? For a stud player like LaMelo or Tatis, would you buy high right now for their rookie cards and believe in the talent enough that you believe their rookie card can still soar to higher values? Or would you pay much, much less for a great low-numbered autograph card in their second or third year and then flip those for a potentially greater profit, although the upside is probably capped? What do you guys think?
So that's a loaded question. Yeah, totally. So many moving parts.
Go for it, John. You could tackle it.
You could break it down. Break it down.
I'm going to just speak from my own experience. I think if you're early enough into it, for example, Tatis is 2019, so he's been out for a number of years. And I think as a player becomes more established and it's a lot further down the road, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, I always kind of like to go back to analytics, like studying ratios, but the ratio of a value of a rookie card versus his second year card, there's going to be some kind of ratio that starts to form. If you're early in the process, like for example, LaMelo, and he's, soon enough he's coming out with second year cards, that ratio is going to be really whack because it hasn't really been established yet. So is there buying opportunity? Absolutely there is. But it's a little bit of a mix. Like, for example, I'll give 2 examples of myself. We all think Luis Robert is a good buy low, right? There's certainly a lot of cards you can get into low range, like refractors for $100. I went a different route, and this is probably what maybe Mike M is trying to think of. Instead of buying the rookie refractor that many people have, for the same money, I went out and bought the second year Topps paper SSP variation image PSA 10 for the same money. Right? So for me, I just thought, you know what, this is a good play to try to get into like a more rare card early on while the buy low window is super, super low. Especially if rookie cards are this low, then that means anything following it is going to be even lower. But we also have to keep in mind that rookie cards, and especially flagship and chrome flagship, are the first to go up if a player starts popping off, right? So we've talked about it before, but it's a trickle down effect. As people cannot afford numbered flagship and numbered Topps Chrome, they're going to start going for numbered Sterling. They're going to start going for numbered Bowman's Best, whatever. And it starts trickling down. And then Bowman's Best is too expensive. They're going to start going for second year numbered and second year sapphires and all of that stuff, right? So I think liquidity, we talk about this many times, but liquidity is also a big key in all of this, because as much as I think the rookie card chase seems very high, the liquidity is important, because like I have an example of, I had the opportunity to buy Vladdy's refractor Topps Chrome at $100. Instead, I made a different play and I bought Vladdy's Optic Teal Velocity numbered at 35. I thought numbered, it's non-licensed, but it's like low numbered, low pop. It's going to be a big time card. And I bought it for around the same price. Fast forward when Vladdy was popping off, refractor is going for $500 US. And then the teal is low enough. I think it's pop too. So I don't see them in existence. But a numbered out of 99 Optic went for $400 US. So in my mind, I'm like, hey, I think my teal velocity is worth $750 US, because the red velocity at 99 went for 400. So in my mind, okay, I made the better play here. I spent $100 instead of the refractor and I bought the Optic, and I think it's worth $750 instead of $500. It's the better play. Guess what? I go into the open market to try to sell my teal velocity at $750. Nobody is touching it. Like listed for, Vladdy's hitting like 40 home runs, with the triple crown, in is set in his eyes, and still nobody's touching that card. Like Hyung knows, we listed it together. There's like no offers, nothing, right? So that's the liquidity also becomes important too. As much as you feel like you're gonna multiply your X in different cards, bottom line is still people look for that flagship rookie, right? So that's another thing to kind of weigh in all this. I feel like I have more to say because it's such a loaded question, but I've spoken enough for the time being. I'll let you guys weigh in.
That's good. No, that's good. And another lesson is stay away from teal.
Yeah. Stay away from non-licensed.
Non-licensed.
I don't think it's a bad long-term play though, and that's
it's not. Yeah,
it's what the
sure.
Like even the second year, third year cards. I don't think it's a bad play early if you don't mind doing it long term. I've done it with Soto, for instance. There was a point in time where I'm like, screw this. I'm done trying to find a Soto because prices are so ridiculous. They're overpriced.
Right.
No matter how good Soto is, it's one of those things where it's overpriced but underpriced, right? And that's what everybody feels the same way. It's like, holy crap, Soto's so expensive. And the other option was I ended up getting the Independence Day second year Soto, a PSA 10, which is a pop one. Right. For the time, it was like $900, right? So obviously, there's no comp since because it's a pop one. But for me, that was a no brainer because I'm thinking 10 years down the road potentially. Obviously, if the flip opportunity comes the way, I'm gonna assess it and weigh my options out at that point. But I love it. I love that card. That's probably one of the nicest cards that I've ever seen, just in terms of eye appeal, right? So for me, I think they're super underrated plays, right? But then John hit it on the nail. It depends on what your play is, right? If you need that cash to move into other slabs, then there's a reason I think flagship is popular, right? Is because you have that option to cash out. But in terms of PSA 10s, I think a lot of athletes are overpriced, right? And the smarter plays is finding those alternatives, right? But that's the thing is with everything, it's a trickle down effect. And, in this day and age, I keep on saying we live in a digital era. Whatever's relevant in society becomes very, very relevant in our markets, let's say. Right. So, and this is why there has to be corrections all the time because a new drop happens or, let's just say Tatis goes off and his PSA 10s are ridiculous. They're more, I hear this all the time. They're more expensive than You hear on the Bowman side, a player has never ever even played a major league game yet. He's selling for more than a rookie, right? Obviously, that's logic thinking, right? To any logic, it's like, how does that make sense? Unfortunately, that's not the way the markets work, right? So to me, it's all about what the market believes in as well. So you have to always respect that. And there's so many times I got burnt personally by saying, you know what, this is stupid. This is the right play is going like a certain way, somewhere different. Nobody's looking here. And yeah, it's cheap, but that play might be in play 3-4 years as opposed to in 3-4 months, right? So that's the only thing. That's the market and reality that we're kind of living in, right? So obviously it changes every day, and that's why I love the underrated plays like the second year cards, because one day, well, you could even take a look at LeBron, any GOAT, Mike Trout. It's more apparent, I'd say, in football, in basketball. So your LeBron and Brady second year chromes, gold refractors. Wow, like you could get those for cheap, like a Soto right now, and then hold on for 10-15 years, and then wow, right? But that's the problem. It's the day trading again that comes into play, and it's the everyday prices that we kind of like look at, right? So yeah, like history will tell itself and it'll repeat itself. On the GOAT guys, you have so much buying opportunity if it's not on the rookie side. You have other, even inserts, with kabooms and, downtowns coming more and more popular. There's a lot more options than just that typical rookie card, right? So yeah, I'm all for all those plays. I think they're smart, and depending on if you need the money right away, because that's the only problem. You're probably not going to see a lot of volatility in those second year cards in the immediate, now, sure. But they could be great deals if they're lower pop and you just kind of forget about it and enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're going to go for non-rookie card years, if you can't find a liquidity, because you're taking away the rookie factor and the liquidity, right? So if you're not going to do that, I think it's safest to try and target something else that's popular of all cards in general. Like Hyung mentioned, gold refractors. Like a Tatis second year gold refractor would be an awesome play. Independence Day paper, black paper, like things that are very highly desired regardless of the year. I think those would be, or like SSP variation photos. I think those are like great plays if you're not going to go for the rookie, because that parallel or that style is in such high demand. Color blast, kaboom. Those things are in such high demand that you'll still get that liquidity, even though it's not rookie year, right? So there's definitely plays. There's no question. I think Mike is certainly onto something. Like people have been doing it. It's not just rookie cards, but yeah, anyways.
No,
Clark,
you guys mentioned all the great points, and I don't have much to say at this point, except really for those who are new to the hobby, I think it could be a good play, right? For those who don't have that big budget. It's potentially, in generally speaking terms, a great way to build up your capital and then maybe invest in that PSA 10 rookie of a player you really believe in. But at the end of the day, you have to do your research. I think it takes more research to go this way, right? Like even when you're talking about popular inserts like the kabooms, John, and the color blasts, like some of those are actually really pricey too, right? And it's like when it's that liquid, there's a price to pay for that liquidity. Sure. So you're kind of in that trap as well. But when you're looking for those second, third year cards that have the potential to pop, yeah, you got to do your research. And I totally agree with you. You already took the words out of my mouth. It's all about liquidity. And in terms of research, like look at the sales data. You could look at eBay sold listings. You could go on Card Ladder, see which second or third year cards actually sell, somewhat frequently. Maybe there's always that's, I don't know, I'm just making it up, but like the Topps Chrome autograph of second year cards, they're still semi-liquid. Maybe they're doing half the volume of the rookie card, but the price is so low that it's worth the risk, to hold on to it even a bit longer because it's not as liquid, but it has the potential to pop. And, like investing in general, you want to diversify a little bit too, right? Like, not just buy a particular set of a second year card. Do your research, and you never know. The market is the market. There's no reason sometimes why everyone flocks to a certain card or a certain set. But if you happen to have one, then you can make nice profit off of it if that's what everyone's going for, right? But the only other thing I would say too is like, with so much product out there, especially with newer guys, with younger players, like you might not be able to get that first Bowman Chrome rookie autograph of a stud baseball player. But there's so many other products that you can go after that are definitely more budget friendly, right? Whether it's a Bowman Sterling, and that might be a smarter play. It's a rookie card still, and it doesn't have that prestige of Bowman Chrome or Topps Chrome. But if the player is good, even those cards are going to pop at some point, right?
Sure,
even the Sterlings, and even the lesser
So
top 5
underrated.
stars, things like that.
Yeah,
and that point is great, because if you're going to go for a non-rookie or even rookie, like an alternative rookie card, try to find something about the card that you feel will intrigue collectors, right? For example, it's pretty well known that the 2019 Bowman Chrome Tatis is a good play because it's a vertical card. His main flagship is horizontal. Not many people like horizontal. And it's a batting image, which is one of the few main batting image rookie cards for Tatis. So if you find some of these sort of like nuances about certain cards, like, it's not a hidden secret, but the 2008 Topps Chrome Kobe with the LeBron, right? That's not a rookie card, but that card clearly shows something that's different about it versus any other non-rookie or Kobe, right? So when you find and discover these little things that you feel could garner demand, it could be a great play. And we haven't even talked about going for the rookie card flagship PSA 9. That's also like a great play, right? Like, I'll pose a question to you guys. Would you rather have second year, like a $500 gold refractor Tatis, or would you rather have a first year blue refractor PSA 9 if they were going for the same price?
9s are fine, for sure.
Right? That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So that don't sleep on the rookie flagship, lesser, not the PSA 10, right?
Good point, yeah.
That I think that was our point in previous episodes too. It's like that subjectivity of grading itself shouldn't cause that big of a difference in terms of pricing from a PSA 9 to a PSA 10, right? So that's why it's like crucial to kind of like see those differences. And even though the market doesn't say now, today's buying opportunity might be a good move for, tomorrow when markets change, right? It's like, that's why some of these logics don't make sense. But it's for us to make those logics and make it make sense and kind of, sometimes spend a little money here and roll the dice. But usually, if you trust your intuition on a long-term play, given that the athlete is who you think he is, I think you're going to do well overall, just in general, right? So like you said, Clark, as long as you do your due diligence and make sure you do your own research, I think good things can happen when investing in those secondary kind of cards as well. And it's so much easier to do now. There's so much data out there, so many programs and software you can use that you can really dive deep into it. So with that all being said, and before we move on, I know we still all love our PSA 10 rookie cards. Are there any players that you have bought high on and it worked out for you? Or in other words, when did you cave into FOMO and it turned out okay? Or do you guys not play that game at all? I always play that game. Everybody plays that game. You know what though? Like, I'm telling you, everybody told me not to buy Acuna when I was buying Acuna. And his prices just went even more bonkers than, what everybody was saying, right? But that's also could be, the timing factor. So, I mean, it's a tough one.
I think one of my main examples would be it's again, we're talking about Tatis. When Tatis cards were going up, and at this point I wasn't really well versed or really knew much about baseball. Hyung and I were just starting our early conversations talking about cards and baseball. And Tatis started to really fly, and I wanted to get in on Tatis, but his flagship, this is when flagship was crazy, flagship refractors were really expensive, and I saw this was the Sterling that I talked about, the Bowman Sterling Gold refractor.
Right.
Somebody had listed it for like 1,100, and I said, what do you think, Hyung? You think this is a good play? It seems like a good play. This was probably like a year and a half ago, and Hyung's like, oh man, gold refracted long term, that's a beauty, like, so underrated. I'm like, okay, let me see if I can make a play on this, and I lowballed the guy at 425, and he ended up accepting. And, when he accepted, my immediate thought was, oh, God, I think I paid too much. Why did he accept right away? Like, I didn't really do, at that point, I wasn't doing, like, I didn't know 130 point existed. I didn't know that stuff. I wasn't really well-versed.
He was like that. He accepted it too quick, right?
He accepted it right away. And I thought, this doesn't make sense. Oh, God. Yeah. And this was when Tatis was flying high. And even though Tatis cards have come down significantly, that card is certainly worth a lot more than what I paid for it now, right? So that'd probably be like one of my early examples. Everything else is probably an L.
It's a dangerous game.
Yeah, don't buy FOMO, man. Don't buy FOMO.
Yeah, definitely don't buy FOMO. You'll be holding the bag.
Yeah.
But everybody does it. Yeah.
Everyone does it to some degree. I'm pretty good because you guys know I'm super, super conservative, but it's boring on the sidelines. So right. I watch and envy when you guys get that wicked card. But yeah, generally don't buy into FOMO.
Yeah.
A bad play. All right. Thanks, Mike, for the question. And we've been getting some good feedback lately from our podcast listeners. If you have a question or a topic you want us to discuss on a future show, please reach out to us and follow us on Instagram at Cards to the Moon, or you can contact me directly as well at 5cardguys. Okay, this next segment, we haven't done this in a while, so we're going to bring it back for this episode. It's called Fast 5. So what I'm going to do is list 5 players one by one, and you guys tell me if you would buy their card, hold their card if you have it already, or if you sell right now. Okay? And the first 3 are football players that just played in the Super Bowl. Congrats to the Los Angeles Rams. But now that the offseason has begun, I want to get your thoughts on some of these key players. Let's start with Joe Burrow. We saw his cards spike leading up to the Super Bowl, and not surprisingly, it's pulled back quite a bit after their Super Bowl loss. What are you doing with Joe Burrow?
I'm selling. 100% selling. Yeah.
Okay.
Right now, I just feel like there's other buying opportunities, timing wise, right? I think football, the hangover's still there, and prices are still going to be high right now, and I think they're going to dip even more, especially someone like Joe Burrow, who's a young quarterback, and now he doesn't have a Super Bowl ring, so it's the same where he's been, really, maybe a little padded on his resume. So for me, it's a sell. Has nothing to do with his talent or his future, or if I believe him as a player. I just think that the timing is a perfect time where you still have some hype and believers of Joe Burrow, but I could already see the prices are gonna correct itself from that loss. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agreed. It's a sell, and it's nothing, again, just like Hyung said, nothing to do with Joe Burrow, the talent. I think everybody at this point has seen and witnessed what he can be, and I think that'll give a lot of buyers in the future tons of confidence to purchase Burrow and to purchase big Burrows. So timing wise, it's all about the timing. Even though his card has dipped a bit, I still think it's a sell. And if you really believe in Burrow and he's one of your favorite players, you can always get back into him in 1 or 2 months or 3 months or whenever you want. So I think it's a good time to sell.
Yeah, it's going to be a sell sweep, especially with the super high-end cards. Like, that's dropping really quick, like the National Treasures, RPA. Yeah. I think on Card Ladder, it's like, it's going down. So I would try to sell those cards if you're lucky to have one of those high-end Burrow cards. But for the more common ones, like even a select, like a silver field level prism, I would wait to see how much it dips. If it dips below what it was before the amazing Super Bowl run for the Bengals, I'm looking to buy, especially cards like field level.
And I think you'll have resistance there, and I think it's just that spike on the Super Bowl run is what needs to be corrected, right? So I think there's going to be a certain floor that it's not going to surpass, and you're right, Clark. Like you monitor that floor and see when. When it drops, and if you think it's a good buying opportunity, that's how you have to do it, right? And when you look at the charts and where in the macro lens, when you bought that, you'll see that I actually bought this on the dip, right? Yeah. So that's what you essentially want to do. It's the same with any market, right? So
sure. And you know what? After the Super Bowl game, I don't know if you guys watched it, but I'm pretty bullish on Joe Burrow. The guy's got swag, confidence.
Oh yeah, big
time. First time at the Super Bowl, and it's so funny. Like when the game was over, a lot of emotions. Like Joe Burrow had none. He looked like he's saying to himself, "I'm gonna be here again, no problem."
Yeah.
My career is just starting.
Yeah.
So every confidence in Burrow.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how everyone else feels. That's why there's so much confidence in buying him, right?
For sure. All right, how about the other side? Matthew Stafford got his first Super Bowl ring, destined for the Hall. What are you guys doing with his cards?
Sell.
Sell.
I'm a sell, hold, and buy, if that makes sense.
Okay. Explain.
I mean, for me, it's a sell because you're getting that initial spike of press and obviously a Super Bowl and potential future Hall of Famer. So you have all that kind of in play, right? So it's like in long term, I think it might be a buy, but short term, his prices might be good enough where, hey, you might want to take profit, and Stafford might not exist, in 5-6 months, or people might forget about him, and it goes on, right? So that's the only thing. It's kind of like the Aaron Rodgers thing. Like how could you make sense that a Justin Herbert NT outsells something like an Aaron Rodgers, right? So it's the same thing where I see Stafford as well. But do I think long term he's a great play? I think potentially, yeah, because his cards are kind of cheap still, so it's not like they're crazy, right? So it all depends on where you are in the cycle, right? So, but yeah, to make things more complicated, I'm gonna go with buy, sell, and hold.
Breaking the rules of this game, okay. But I understand. What about you, John? So said.
I like Matt. I like Matt Stafford. He was again like the one of the dark horse picks. Yeah, he's one of my picks. But the unfortunate part about Stafford, when you're just kind of looking at what just happened, normally when you win a Super Bowl championship, and I mentioned this, the only way Stafford has a new floor in his pricing, he has to win the Super Bowl. And it has happened. And I believe there probably is a new floor here. Now people are saying he's got one ring. He's on the trajectory to the Hall of Fame now. So there's a new floor. But I don't think that floor is that much higher. I could be wrong. I haven't checked prices as of today. But when the prices cool off in this offseason, I don't think it's going to be that much higher than what it was pre-Super Bowl. It's just going to be slightly higher. So I think you take advantage of that sell right now. And what I meant by unfortunate for Matt Stafford, even though he won, Cooper Kupp is the guy that took all of the limelight and the hype and everything. I'm sure his cards, I haven't checked it either, but his cards, blossomed compared to Matt Stafford's, right? Sure. So I think Matt Stafford's floor, he's probably set a new floor. I just don't think it's really that much crazier than normal. So if there's a big spike if you can have an opportunity to sell the Topps Chrome base for a pretty good profit, I would probably take it right now and then see if you can get back into it. But overall, like Hyung was saying, man, Matt Stafford rookie cards, there aren't that many out there. If you go and search for them, the Chrome is pop 110 or something super low.
Oh, really?
There's not much out there. So even if you try to look, it's not out there. So at some point, maybe that'll catch up to people. I don't know. So, yeah.
No, it's good to know. I was going to do a sell sweep. I just think Matthew Stafford as a quarterback is kind of boring. He's just, he's a good quarterback, right? But he's not a Brady. He's not exciting like the rookie QBs or second-year QBs like Burrow, Herbert, and those guys. So I think he just gets lost in that kind of quarterback crowd. And you're definitely gonna see a small bump from the Super Bowl win. So for me, it's obvious sell time, just the way I feel about Stafford. But now that you mentioned that it has a low pop count, I might take that decision back. I think once people start to realize that could definitely raise the floor. But
Sure.
But yeah. All right. Well, you mentioned it already, John. Cooper Kupp, the Super Bowl MVP. The guy was ridiculous in that last drive of the game. He pretty much he ran the ball. He caught the ball. Like, people were double teaming him. Didn't matter. And, Cooper Kupp, what about his cards? Wide receivers don't often get the same love as QBs.
They don't get the love. Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think?
That's the only issue with Kupp. He was monstrous this whole year, right? So he was like offensive player of the year and stuff. So I think there is a spike in that, and I'm the same way. I'm a sell, unless you really love Cooper Kupp, right? As a player, then I'd say hold, right? So I think he's gonna I did monitor his pricing. His pricing has been it did spike quite a bit, so I think it's a great time to unload if you're looking for profit, or even hold at this point if you do enjoy him. But I don't think you're gonna see much love in the future in terms of wide receivers as well, because it seems like that's the way the card industry is with F1, with even baseball, basketball. It always happens. Some guy could score 20 points a game in basketball and he gets absolute no hobby love, right?
Yeah, Cooper Kupp, he's a sell for me too. I think the spike is tasty enough to take profits right now. His style, man, it's there's a reason why people enjoy watching him. He's high energy. He goes in the dirty areas. He gets the job done. I think that is inviting a ton of risk and injury potentially. So I think if you can take the profit now, take it. If you happen to own a rare Cooper Kupp and he's your PC player, then obviously it's a hold for you. But in general terms, I think it's a sell. What I'm more curious about is like, we started collecting back in the day where, no secret there were a bunch of old heads. Like back in the day, I don't know when it changed, and maybe one day we'll have a football guy on here that can kind of explain the sports card progression. But when we were younger, like running backs were huge, wide receivers were huge, Jerry Rice, like Randy Moss, even defensive backs like Charles Woodson, like these like big time collections and cards that you would collect. It wasn't just about QBs back in the day. So I don't know when or what year or when the hobby decided, like when I got back
Brady.
into this. Exactly. I don't know. Like
that was when
Brady ruined everything.
That was when.
Yeah. Like when we were younger, like running backs were cooler than quarterbacks by far. Yeah. When we were younger.
For sure.
And when I got back into the hobby now it's a couple of years back, I remember like looking up football cards for the first time and I was like, what? Like nobody likes running backs? Like what? This doesn't make any sense. Like when did that change? Right. So anyways, it's a question that I've had.
It's a good question. Yeah, It's a good question. My theory is that when we got out of football and came back into it, the game's changed itself. It's so much more physical and violent. And that's why you see running backs get injured and they have a career span of 1, 2, 3 seasons.
They're like the pitchers.
Like there's nothing to invest in.
The pitchers of baseball, right?
Same thing. Yeah, exactly.
So true.
The pitchers are throwing harder. There are more Tommy John surgeries.
Surgeries, yeah.
Just super risky in investing in certain types of players that just have a lot more wear and tear on their body. So
it's true.
That's my answer. But yeah, Cooper Kupp's a sell for exactly the same reasons you guys mentioned, so I won't belabor the point. Honestly, I think the critique for the Super Bowl game was that it was a mediocre game until the very end when it was kind of exciting. So you didn't have those marquee matchup or players. So I think if we did this Fast Five, if like it was another KC Chiefs Mahomes versus Brady, then it might have been a different answer where you're like, these guys are the real deal and we can see them coming back next year. Like, are we going to see another Super Bowl with the Rams versus the Bengals? I don't know if anyone's putting money on that. But we'll see, I guess. All right. The last two guys I want to throw out to you guys for this Fast Five segment are from baseball. And they both have injury concern leading into the season. So I want to see what you're doing with their cards. Let's begin with Ronald Acuna Jr. He probably won't start off the season, but hopefully he'll play sometime in 2022. What do you guys think?
Well, considering that I let go of 2 monstrous Acuna cards at Golden Auction this past week,
Crazy.
I'm a sell. You know what I mean? To me, it's just a good time to sell. His market is super hot, at least his high end stuff, and he's not even playing. He's injured, right? And his market is really, really hot. With that said, though, his lower end stuff is really cheap. So, like his Topps Update Chrome is under $100 again. So for me, I think there's enormous opportunity in the lower end stuff. The higher end stuff is a different story. I think we closed off Golden on a true blue Acuna Bowman Chrome for $18,000 with buyer's premium. So I believe that was super high for a blue non-true gem sale. So I think the high end Acuna market is as hot as it's ever been, to be honest, or at least close to, and that kind of worries me. Considering that he has a serious injury like an ACL a comeback, right? So I think his prices are extremely high on the higher end stuff. So I would say sell on the high end, buy on the low end, and hold if you're unsure.
Great sentence at the end. Hold if you're unsure. I was a buy until you mentioned that stuff, and now I'm unsure. So I think I'm going to say hold. I think all the points that Hyung said are very accurate in terms of high end doing well, low end being super low, and in general the Acuna market still being fairly hot, even though when he first got injured till today, and now the season may or may not start on time, but we all have confidence that it's going to start, and obviously Acuna is one of the top names in baseball and in the collecting world. So his card's going to continue to kind of catch fire. So yeah, I'll say hold. I'll say hold because I know the reason why I say that because Acuna, people that are wanting to spend on Acuna, most of the time it's not, I want to go $80 on a base card. Like most people are thinking of spending some money on Acuna. So I think for me, I would hold to see what's about to happen, especially if it doesn't start the season. You know what happens when the hype of the season starts, and if somebody's not off to a good start, if they're not playing, they kind of get forgotten. Like that's exactly what happened to Soto last year. His card was going to the moon right before the season started. He was a slow out of the gates versus Tatis and Acuna, and Soto cards started dropping. So I think this is a situation, especially because of the injury, hold, and then you can make a decision about spending some bigger money on Acuna a little later.
Yeah, I'm a hold as well. Like, I'm one of those guys that you were mentioning, John, who really wants to buy an Acuna, like a Bowman Chrome first auto. And,
right.
When he got his ACL injury, I'm like, okay, there's going to be a chance. It's going to be, and then we're into the off season. His cards haven't gone down that much. It's still, no. I'm like, what is going on? This is ridiculous. There's a lot of people that are holding on to Acuna because they believe in his talent, obviously, right? So I think there's a lot of potential buyers for Acuna, and I'm waiting for him to get back on the field. Yeah, the ACL obviously is a serious injury, but I'm hoping this prolonged time off the field, he'll come back healthy, and then that's what I'm banking on. So I'm pretty bullish on Acuna to begin with, and if I have his card, I'm holding. Thinking that it could take another step up. Although it's high right now, although it remains high. But yeah, I have that kind of confidence in Acuna. All right. And the last person, Mike Trout. And it might be silly to bring out Mike Trout because I think we all agree he's a generational player, still number one in the league. But I think there was an article on ESPN Fantasy that questioned whether Mike Trout was washed at the age of 30, and a lot of people just criticized the actual article, in unbelief, like in disbelief, saying, Mike, you're talking about Mike Trout. He's still the number one player in the league, especially when he's healthy. But one true point is that he has been injured. Like on average, he's been playing just over 100 games for the last 3 seasons or so. So there is some injury concern, more of a prolonged injury concern than Acuna, who had this one big setback last year. But what are you doing with Mike Trout? Are you concerned at all? Even with the injury history going forward, he's 30 now, but yeah, what do you guys think?
I personally am not concerned.
Okay.
For me, Trout's a buy. He's a buy or a hold. I think for any collector, any baseball collector, I think that has always been the goal eventually to get into Trouts. Like that was always the goal the last couple of years with anybody, pretty much. So I think I don't think Trout's done, even though he's been playing 100 games, a season in the last 3 years. He's been still putting up full season numbers, which is crazy, right? So. It's a matter of staying healthy. Obviously, there's concerns like Pujols' production, his latter part of his career versus his first, his first 8-10 years or so, right? So there's a lot of concerns there. But in my opinion, like there's too much history in terms of Trout, especially in the Bowman Chrome. Like the Bowman Chrome market in Trout, it's such an iconic card, and so much has happened in that field that I don't think it could ever be a bad investment, to be honest, right? I think Trout has, obviously there's a lot of debate on who the actual GOAT is, and I don't think he's up there yet because obviously he hasn't finished his career, but there's arguments both ways, right? And I think if we're arguing, those points, it's irrelevant because he's done so much for the game in terms of who the best player has been in the last 10 years. He has to be up there in terms of, OPS, slogging, on-base percentage, the whole deal, just WAR in general as well. So he's definitely a buy hold for me. I think some of the stuff is as cheap as I've seen it in a while. So if he comes back and does extremely well, I think you're gonna see the spike back up in Trout's, because I think he's the iconic guy, the chase in modern baseball.
Yeah. John?
I think I am a buy as well. This kind of reminds me of the Shohei Ohtani thought process before last year. Everybody knew the talent. Everybody knew he was a unicorn in the making. We all saw his rookie year. But everybody had injury concerns. And that really put a scare and a damper into people wanting to put money or invest. Mike Trout is a little bit different because he's already kind of cemented his legacy. For a big chunk of his legacy is already cemented. So that's why prices are still what they are. But for the first time, he's not looking like the immortal beast that he is, and people are kind of getting scared to maybe continually spending, thousands of dollars on Mike Trout. So it's going to be two trains of thoughts. Either you think this is people forgetting about it and it's a huge buy, which I think it is, or you're on the other side and you're thinking, I don't know, I think this injury might keep derailing him, and I'm going to be scared off, and I'm not going to do it, right? So I think it's a buy overall. I think to get into somebody like Mike Trout, you don't get many opportunities. There's like small windows, and I think this is one of. I truly believe this is one of those windows where people are scared, people are kind of forgetting about him. And yeah, if you've ever wanted one, I think this is the time. You go in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This is a boring fast five. I think we agreed in every player. Yeah, totally agree. Mike Trout. Oh man, like even with his injury and just not playing a full season for the past few years, like his cards haven't gone down as much as I would like. The market has gone down in general, like the whole market, but like I was hoping for even a bigger dip so I could get into a Mike Trout, and I'm still waiting. And I do agree with you. I think there are people, a growing number of people, not a lot, but enough people that are beginning to waver now, where it's like, do I really want to hold on to this card? And they're trying to almost talk themselves into selling so that they can invest somewhere else. Right. And I'm hoping if that's the case, there'll be buying opportunities in the near future for Mike Trout. So I am monitoring eBay every day now to see if there's that chance to get a nice Mike Trout rookie. So definitely a buy for me. And if I have him already, it's obviously a hold.
So question for you guys to play devil's advocate on the other side. on the selling side of the equation. If Trout ends up, and there's a chance it could be end up like this, but if Trout ends up playing 60 to 80 games this season, does his floor on his card prices sink a lot further than what it's at right now? So his $3,000 update, does it start going for $2,000, $1,900, $1,800? And I think that this is where people are getting scared, right?
Sure.
They're starting to believe he may only play like an 80-game season coming up, right? So do you guys think if he plays one more injury-riddled season, is his cards going to really go down that much?
I think so. I think if he doesn't put up numbers, it's gonna retract a bit. But obviously, there's gonna be a floor because people still believe in Trout, right? But I could see it going down to like 2K. I've seen it. I remember when it was at 1,000, everybody's like, "This is bonkers. Pop is too high to sustain this." I didn't know what the pop was at the time, but but it never stopped. It never went back since, right? Even injury. So I don't see it retracting too much. I think there's going to be some serious support at certain levels like 2K. I'm in for 2K. Like I would be in for 2K. Like I think that's a great buy-in price for sure.
Yeah, agreed. I think we're at the point where it's like if it's another injury-riddled season, you're like, oh, when did he actually have a full season? Like it becomes to the point where you can't even remember at this point, and that'll I think drop prices. But again, at that point, then it's even a better buying opportunity for me because going down with the Mike Trout ship, So yeah.
Yeah, the scary thought would be if he has an injury-riddled season plus subpar performance, because then that'll make people believe, okay, maybe this is now the downward trajectory of his career.
Right? That's when we see a drastic reduction. Because right now it's been an injury-riddled season, but no subpar performance. Like when he's playing, he's putting up monster numbers, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I think we'll wrap Fast Five there, and let's move on to our last segment of this week. Pick one.
Clark, you should start this one because we're just talking about the Trout.
Yeah. Okay. For those who are listening for the first time, Pick One is our segment where we do every week, but we put up two cards and we debate which one we would rather invest in. Okay. So I'll start off first this time. Hyung usually starts off, but I'll start off because it's a good segue to what we were just talking about. So the first card for our 1v1 or Pick One is Mike Trout's Topps Update rookie card that we are just talking about, PSA 10, which we mentioned is about 3K, hovering just above 3K right now, or the 2020 Topps Definitive Collection on-card autograph card of Mike Trout, PSA 10, which I believe is going for around 3K as well. And the reason why I brought these two cards is based on our hobby headlines discussion. Are you going for the rookie card, or are you looking for that nice premium non-rookie card that's sweet and it could go up in value? So I wanted you to really play that angle up.
Oh, that's a tough one because the collector in me, obviously the answer's the autograph for me. Out of 5, like that's a PC kind of item.
It's out of 5. I forgot to mention that it's out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that's something that you don't see too often, and it's probably going to look better than the Topps update. But the power of the liquidity, right? The rookie card of liquidity. Like for me, it's like I could see Trout's cards going up while we won't know about the definitive, whether it goes up or not, because there's not enough comps. You're basically making the comp and the price of what you sell, right? So there could be a time when Trout's market goes up and it comes back down. And during that time, you could have taken profits and cashed out on profits with that PSA 10 Trout update rookie, as opposed to something that's more of a collection piece that you're going to keep and kind of enjoy, right? So the investment part of me wants to say the update PSA 10 is the way to go. But for me, if it's more of a, I want to enjoy this piece, it's going to be the autograph out of 5. I know I have to pick one. So since we're always talking about, at the end of the day, we're trying to make our attendees, we're going to go Mike Trout Topps Update PSA 10 I choose over the auto.
Whoa.
All right.
Okay. When you asked the question, I actually thought it was Topps Dynasty. You guys know how I feel about Topps Dynasty.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, Dynasty all the way. And then I looked at it carefully. I'm like, oh, it's definitive. Topps definitive autograph. I don't know what that looks like. I'm assuming it looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it's a thick stock and
Yeah.
what you would expect from a higher end card.
Yeah. I'm gonna pick the definitive autograph out of 5. And when
Why?
you look at not only did base in general kind of have this new outlook on life in terms of hobby space, like people think base is like the enemy. Mike Trout base and other big GOAT bases might be a little bit different, but I think when you look even in long term, yes, it's iconic, and yes, it's iconic of one of the greatest players of all time. But even when you kind of study Topps Kobe or Topps LeBron with him in the white suit, right? Yes, that's also iconic. Yes, one of the greatest players of all time. But collecting is becoming, as people are spending more and more money and being comfortable spending more money in the hobby, it's a lot different than when we were young, when like $50 on one card used to be crazy. People are spending big time money now. And now people are getting their eye appeal, all of that stuff is becoming a lot different than in the past. So yes, it's iconic and it'll stay iconic. But I think Mike Trout doesn't sign enough in general compared to a lot of athletes, that when all is said and done, I think a ton of Mike Trout autographs are going to be just as liquid as Kobe autographs, LeBron autographs. I think it might go down that train. If we all believe what Mike Trout is going to end his career is going to be like, really every year in most sets, Mike Trout doesn't sign more than like maybe 100 cards within each set, right? There's no actual factual proof to that, but I just feel like Mike Trout doesn't sign as many cards as a lot of people. So I think when all is said and done, iconic players, and we're talking PSA 10 and numbered out of 5. Yeah, it's definitive, but I think there will be liquidity in this card. Maybe not right now. If you're looking for liquidity, like in the next 3 months, maybe not. But most people collecting Mike Trout autographs are looking at long term. So I'm gonna say long term. Yeah, we'll go with the autograph PSA 10. Okay.
Damn it! I wanted to be the one that breaks the tie. I thought you go do Topps update.
Sorry,
I'm going with Topps definitive as well, because for the reason that you mentioned, I'm seeing it as a Kobe play. Like his autograph cards, high-end autograph cards sell. Like there's always going to be a demand for it, and I think it's going to be the same with Mike Trout when his career is said and done. His super low numbered in this case, autograph on card auto as well. Card will be in high demand, especially after his playing days are over. But yeah, I thought the liquidity would get at least one of you for this big one. Okay. Gosh, Hyung. But yeah, okay, Hyung, you want to go next?
Sure, I'm gonna go Juan Soto again. We're gonna go with the Topps update 2018 Topps update Soto Gatorade Bath SSP PSA 10. Okay, so in a PSA 10 versus a 2016 Bowman Chrome first auto of Soto PSA 10. So I'd say they're probably close in terms of value, about 10K. So what would you guys pick in terms of what's the better investment?
Ooh, I'm not going to pick based on investment. I'm just going to straight go with Gatorade Bath because that is an all-time Soto Grail card for me. Just the image, everything about it is just so cool. I love it. So rationally speaking, I think obviously the Chrome first auto in a PSA 10 would probably be the best investment, talking about liquidity and all that jazz. But I'm sorry, I got to pick the Gatorade Bath. That card is just way too awesome. So my pick is Gatorade.
Fair enough.
Yeah, this is a hard one because I love both cards, and yeah, I was like, oh, I wonder what the Gatorade card's worth, and I'm like, what? Okay, I can't afford this, right? Yeah. For that card, but yeah, in this case, it's Bowman Chrome. I'm a sucker for Bowman Chrome autograph cards. Juan Soto, PSA 10. Yeah, it's easy. In this case, I'm going with his first Bowman Chrome rookie card. It's just too good to let go. although that I agree, the SSP of the Gatorade, that is incredible.
Right. Yeah, no, I think the SSP is a lot of people's favorite card. Like one, if you're to say, I want one Soto card, isn't that funny? One Soto card. If you just want one Soto card, they'd probably pick the Gatorade Bath, right? Yeah. And I was actually fortunate enough to pull the Gatorade Bath out of a hobby box, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And also the 2 white Acuna jerseys.
That's more crazy.
And I only probably ripped 7 hobby boxes of 2018 Topps Update when they're somewhat affordable. But yeah, I ended up pulling 3 SSPs, which was crazy. And the Soto ended up gemming. But I'm going to agree with Clark on this one. I was the owner of both cards, not PSA 10s. And it was always a fight for me. It's like the Gatorade Bath was always kind of like a personal card, kind of like, wow, this is beautiful. And that's all it had in terms of that. I just loved it. But for me, I think in terms of an investment standpoint, I think long term, PSA 10 of a Bowman Chrome on card auto of Juan Soto. And I know a lot of people don't like that image. He looks like he's a $125 soaking wet.
I'm one of those guys.
Yeah. I think over time,
the T-ball kid with the giant helmet.
That's when they probably signed him when he was like 9 years old, right? And by the way, today, I know we're a week when we released, Soto just turned down a $350 million deal from the Washington Nationals.
No way.
Turned down. So we'll see what happens maybe next week on that follow-up. But yeah, that's big time. That's big time cash, and that's a big time move by Juan Soto. But anyways, I'm going Bowman Chrome, Juan Soto, PSA 10. And this is a tough one because it probably will change next week. So I'm interested if we could get let's do a poll. I'm interested in see what the rest of the community says on this one.
Yeah, great question.
We'll put it up on Instagram. Good one.
Yeah.
All right, John, you want to close things off?
Yeah, I got it's very specific, actually. It's something that we don't normally do, but it's more of like an informative 1v1. I genuinely wanted to know your guys' opinion on this. So I'm going with it's like a grading 1v1. So if you had a 20% chance of getting a PSA 10 as you're submitting, anything from 1994 to 97 when Topps Finest had those peels, the coating, would you send your card in with the coating or without the coating if you had a 20% chance of getting a PSA 10? Now, I know my answer, and the reason why I asked this is I saw this question posed by a fairly new collector in one of the Facebook groups, and I was surprised to see there was a ton of answers, and most answers without any context was leave the coat on, you have to leave the coat on, which I was a bit surprised about. So I wanted to genuinely know your guys' thoughts on this. If you're sending it in and you have a 20% chance of getting PSA 10, do you leave the coat on? Do you take it off?
So you're saying you get a 20% chance of getting a PSA 10 if you leave the coat on?
No, in general. So if you had a 20% chance, obviously we all know because this is what I did on a personal level. I took my Kobe Topps Finest rookie, and I knew the centering was a bit off. But I knew if I peeled it, and it was kind of a PC card anyways, but if I peeled it, it would have a perfect surface. Corners look perfect. Edges look perfect. It was just the centering. So in my eyes, I thought it would give me more than a 20% chance of getting that PSA 10. So for me, I took that chance. But the coating, I should add this too, but the coating sells for 20 to 40% more. Give or take. The prices are all over the place, but give or take than the non-coating if you had it in the same grade. So like a PSA 9 sells for 20 to 40% more than non-coating.
Man, I'm playing the odds. If it's just a 20% chance I get a PSA 10, yeah, I think I will go with taking the coating off. If I had the foresight that those were my odds, and I think personally, subjectively, it just looks better without the coating. I know, like you said, from an investment standpoint, it might be worth the gamble to keep the coating on. But yeah, I think combining the odds and my subjective choice of what looks better without the coating, I'm going to go without the coating.
I think the without the coating looks amazing, but I know you did that, John, on yours, and I think we had a reason because I think it would just grade too ridiculous with the coating on. But I think if I had the option, man, I'm keeping the coating on. I think it's a must. I think you need to leave the card the way it is if you need to. And part of the Topps Finest in the 90s, that was one of the things that you've always known, that like, oh, that coating, and then it was like, don't take it off. What are you doing? It's like, don't touch it. Like that was always the thing. So I like to keep it that way, and and keep the coating on. I think that's the right way to do it. I don't think a card should be altered by taking it off.
Right. That makes sense. I think, all of the Topps Finest that I still have in my collection today, none of the coating is off. The Kobe was the only one that I removed after 20 or 25 years. So
was it meant to be taken off, like when it was first released?
Yeah, it was meant to be taken off. Like the cards, I guess they move around, they get scratched, surface gets scratched, and then you peel it and it's nice and fresh.
So, for me, is that really altered?
Yeah, so that's that was my thing too, right? Because if you leave, I get it. I'm like that too. I like the pure original. I was one of those people that didn't like autographs on rookie cards back in the day because you're altering the original rookie card, right? Even though sounds like insanity. You get the autograph from the player, but the Finest that's a tough one because. It comes with the card, but it was kind of meant to be peeled off. It even says on the coating, like, peel off after or whatever. So it's meant to be peeled off. And, truth be told, when you take it off, the card looks amazing.
So good.
Oh my gosh. It's like 100 times better. It's like they've got this like foggy blur, and then the moment you take it off, it's just HD.
It's like driving without windshield fluid.
Yeah. Just 4K HD TV, like it just looks amazing, right? But yeah, I think for this, there's a ton of. It's a little bit of a loaded question. There's a lot that goes behind it. So I think when you look, for me especially, when you look at some of the surfaces, you have to remember that these grading companies grade the coating surface, and a lot of them are nicked or scratched or bubbling. And they're going to grade on that, right? So if you think the coating doesn't look great and there's a scratch on the coating, that probably means you might get a PSA 8 or a 7. It's best to probably remove it and take it off. Now, if it was all even, on a personal level, if it's a PZ card, I think it'd be great to take it off. I think the card looks a lot better. But the funny thing is that when I first sent it in for grading, I mean, we didn't get our cards back not too long ago. But we sent it in like a year and a half ago. Everybody knows that story. But when I first sent it in, Topps Finest coating or non-coating was the exact same price. It just literally came down to preference. Fast forward 18 months later, and it looks like coating is starting to separate from non-coating. So I think that's why there's a lot of people going, no, keep that coating on. Maybe, without any context too, maybe they believe even if it's scratched or bubbled a little bit, keep it on. So yeah, anyways, I thought it was a little crazy. For me, it was like, no. If it's going to reduce your chances, you definitely take it off. But I wanted to hear your guys' opinion.
All right. So what are you going with?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I would, for me, I would take it off.
Oh,
if you're getting a 20% chance at a PSA 10.
Yeah.
We're not professional graders. We don't know how awesome that surface is. These companies, like especially PSA, I feel like they use some super microscope that some of these other companies don't use. I would definitely take it off, because when you take it off, that surface it's a PSA 10 surface guaranteed. So you might as well get a 10 on one of the subcategories, and I think that just improves your chances. So
okay,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. When I first read your 1v1, I'm like, okay, John's got to explain this one for me. I follow it completely.
I don't even know if I explained it correctly, but
No,
hopefully the listeners understand what I'm saying.
All right, awesome. Okay, that's this is a long show today, but yeah, thanks guys for listening. We always appreciate our subscribers and followers. Again, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so wherever you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Cards to the Moon. We release a new show every Tuesday. So yeah, thanks again, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.